You've probably heard of the humble origins of today's world's wealthiest men and women. Take, for example, Under Armour, a well-known sportswear brand. Despite the company's present success, did you know that Kevin Plank founded it with just his funds from 5 credit cards? Unluckily, he went broke and was in credit card debt within a year of beginning the business. His big break came when he sold his apparel for $17,000 to Georgia Tech. His product started to gain traction, and it was taken up by large retailers as well as NFL clubs. Under Armour is now a multi-billion-dollar company. Having seen this, in today's video, we take a look at how to overcome your fear of beginning small. But first, before we go on, please subscribe, comment, share the video, and don't forget to leave a thumbs up. And without further ado, let's get started with this interesting video. Holy Scripture offers solutions to any of the challenges that we might be facing in life. In today's video on the fear of starting small, it encourages us not to despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. In Zechariah chapter 4 verse 10. In this verse, it was the temple of the Lord that was being built. The work had to start somewhere, and God was with Zerubbabel from the small beginnings to completion of the temple. We too, like Zerubbabel, at times we might be afraid of moments when we need to start something. Why do we fear small beginnings? Let's take a look at some of the possible reasons. Number 1. We fear failure. Fear of failure is a common phobia among people. Whether it's joining a venture or applying for a new job, most of us have been held back by the fear of failure at some point in our lives. Because failing is the easiest option, fear of failure is quite common. Success requires a significant amount of time and work, and no matter how hard you try, you will sometimes fail. It takes a lot of mental toughness and persistence to keep working toward your goal despite setbacks and disappointments. This isn't to say that it's not worth trying. Even if a failure occurs, we ought to rise again and work smart now that we have learned about what brought the initial failure. Number 2. Uncertainty. Uncertainty is another kind of fear that makes people afraid to start small. When launching a company, for example, there are several risks to consider, regardless of how little the organization is. Let's use Ralph Lauren as an example. This is a multi-billion-dollar clothing company that began as a tiny operation. He got the concept for his apparel firm while working as a sales assistant at Brooks Brothers. His concept was simple. He wondered whether men would be interested in wearing ties that were more colorful and vibrant. His plan had a great deal of uncertainty, but he went through and developed the Polo cloth brand, which is now worth billions of dollars and is well known all over the globe. For him to establish his firm, he had to quit his solid position with a monthly paycheck and depend only on his business, which by then was not bound to success. However, there were a lot of uncertainties in this move since the new firm would not pay off right away. This is another reason why many individuals are afraid of little starts. Have you ever found yourself in a similar situation? Number 3. We fear shame. We are more afraid of the humiliation and shame that comes with failure. This theory was first proposed by psychologist John Atkinson in 1957, and it has since been validated by other studies. In a 2005 study, Holly McGregor and Andrew Elliott revealed that those who are more afraid of failure also feel greater shame following a perceived failure event, suggesting that shame and fear of failure are intimately related, which is another reason why we might fear starting something. The authors wrote, "Shame is a painful emotion, and thus it is not surprising that individuals high in fear of failure orient to and seek to avoid failure in achievement situations." We can understand why we would be afraid of modest beginnings having reached that point. On the plus side, fear is something we can overcome, and in today's video, we will demonstrate how, as we try to look at some of the methods you may take to overcome fear. Number 1. Start small. The trick to overcoming fear is to start small and gradually work your way up to greater heights. If you're afraid of public speaking, for instance, getting up in front of a crowd of thousands is a terrible idea. Performing in front of a smaller crowd is essential for getting positive experiences and modest triumphs that will aid in your progression. Consider overcoming your fear as a set of stages to be completed one by one. Number 2. Accept the fear. It's normal to be nervous about trying new things. It makes no difference whether you are afraid of failure or humiliation. What matters is that you try to overcome it. People often feel that they should not be afraid in the first place. However, if you're already afraid, feeling that you shouldn't be concerned typically exacerbates your fear. Accept that you're afraid and focus your efforts on strengthening your courage. Working towards coping with your fears will make you brave when dealing with small beginnings. Number 3. Focus on what you can control. When we're scared, we often consider what-if scenarios. It's not a bad idea to imagine the worst-case situations that may occur. If you're afraid of doing anything new because you are worried about what may go wrong, take a moment to examine what you can control about the situation. Take, for example, Oprah Winfrey, a well-known media figure throughout the globe. She, too, began with a little beginning at one time in her life. Oprah Winfrey is a living icon today, having revolutionized television talk shows and turned them into very successful businesses. Even though she had a trust fund to fall back on when things went wrong, she continued to take risks and concentrate on what she could control. She was born to a poor household in rural Mississippi and experienced a series of traumas as a child. She was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to Tennessee State University, and at the age of 19, she became the country's first African-American television journalist. She took a tremendous risk and traveled to Chicago in the early 1980s to advance her career on an AM talk show, without the worry of what she may be able to manage. Later, in 1986, Oprah took still another major risk by launching her program, which we are all familiar with and may have seen at some time. The rest is history, and we all know her as one of the world's most successful media personalities. Similarly, you may take chances like Oprah, even if you start little, without worrying about things we can control. Number 4. Manage your expectations. When beginning a business, many individuals have high expectations for how quickly the enterprise would prosper. Some people tend to assume that as soon as they start a small business, they will see rapid returns. A new business endeavor may take a variety of unanticipated twists for the better or the worse, all of which will be acceptable to you if you can control your expectations. Using events in your small company as lessons for future greater performance is the way to go. However, it may take some time before you see returns. As an example, suppose you've opened a little candy business. As a small new business, your goal is to offer new sorts of sweets in the area where you live. After a few clients, you'll notice that some of the candy flavors aren't very popular. You can get rid of the flavors to replace them with preferred ones. It may take some time for some of the original clients to notice that you've discontinued the candy varieties they disliked. They will eventually discover about the change, and you may be able to get a large number of new consumers. Following these 4 simple steps will undoubtedly lead you down the road to success. It might be scary to try anything new since there is always the risk of failure when you go outside of your comfort zone. However, To develop as a person, you must go outside of your comfort zone. Thus, learning to conquer your fears is a requirement. Have you recently overcome your anxiety of starting anything small? Do you want to share your own story with us? Comment below. Let's engage! Also, if you are interested in more videos like this, please leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Goodbye! See you in the next video!